I still don't know why I looked twice at that gate. I've walked past 100 palaces. You learn to stop staring. But that morning, something pulled my eyes to the far end of the courtyard, past the ropes, past the polished boots, and I couldn't look away for the rest of the day. Let me back up. It was late autumn in Renholt, the kind of cold that doesn't bite, just sits on your shoulders. The sky was the color of old paper. I was standing near the Ashcombe gate with maybe 40 other people, all of us waiting for the changing of the guard, all of us doing that thing tourists do, half watching, half checking our phones. The palace itself looked heavier in that light. Gray stone, tall black railings, and those sentries who don't move. You know the ones. They stand so still you almost forget they're breathing. There was one closest to us, younger than I expected, straight-backed, chin-level, eyes fixed on nothing. A little brass plate near his post read the name Holloway, though I only noticed that later. At the time he was just the guard, one of the still ones. A woman near me was telling her kid they weren't allowed to touch anything. A man kept trying to make the guard blink. The usual circus. Nobody was paying attention to the small door on the far side of the courtyard, the one the staff used. Nobody except me, apparently. Because that's where the little girl came out. She couldn't have been more than 7. Dark coat, buckled shoes, hair half falling out of a ribbon. And here's the thing, nobody was holding her hand. A palace like that, full of rules, full of eyes, and this child just slipped out into the cold on her own. I remember thinking, where is somebody? A woman in a gray uniform came out behind her a moment later. Staff, clearly. Not unkind, but hurried, the way people get when they're managing too much at once. She said something to the girl. The girl shook her head. I couldn't hear the words, not yet. But I could read the shoulders. The little girl's shoulders were up around her ears, tight, the way you hold yourself when you're trying very hard not to cry in front of people. The woman reached for her, the girl stepped back. And that's when I felt it, that small drop in your stomach when you realize you might be watching something you weren't meant to see. I glanced at the guard. Holloway, he hadn't moved. Of course he hadn't, that's the whole job. You could set off fireworks and those men don't flinch. But I swear his eyes had shifted, just slightly, toward the girl. The crowd around me kept laughing at something. A camera clicked. The world went on being ordinary. And the little princess of Renholt stood alone at the edge of the courtyard, crying without making a sound. I only knew she was a princess because of the woman next to me. "That's Elspeth," she whispered, gripping my arm like we were old friends. "The youngest. Oh, the poor thing looks upset." Poor thing was right. The staff woman had crouched down now, talking low. Whatever she said, it wasn't landing. The little girl, Elspeth, kept shaking her head, faster now, and she'd started backing toward the railing near the guard's post. Away from the door, away from whatever was inside. Then a second woman came out. Older, sharper. The kind of walk that says I am in charge and I am not pleased. She wasn't cruel looking, I want to be fair. Just tired and stretched thin, the way people get when a child won't do what they need her to do and everyone's watching. She said the girl's name, firm, a command dressed up as kindness. And the little girl finally spoke. Now the wind was working against me, but the courtyard went oddly quiet right then, the way crowds sometimes do without knowing why, and her voice carried, small and cracked and far too heavy for someone that size. "I don't want to go back in there," she said. "Please, don't make me. I won't tell anyone what I saw, I promise. I promise I won't tell." I felt the woman beside me go stiff. "I won't tell anyone what I saw." You don't forget a sentence like that coming out of a 7-year-old. It just sits in you. The older woman's face did something complicated. She reached out, not rough, but quick, the way you grab a child who's about to run, and her hand closed around the girl's arm. Elspeth pulled back, lost her footing, stumbled toward the low stone edge near the railing. And that's when it happened. The guard moved. I don't mean he glanced over. I mean Corporal Holloway, the man who hadn't so much as twitched in 20 minutes, the man whose entire purpose was to not move, broke his post. He came off that platform fast, boots loud on the stone, straight past the staff woman, past the older one, past every rule that says a sentry holds his line. The whole crowd made this sound, this shared gasp, because we all knew, even the tourists, that guards don't do that. Someone shouted at him. One of the palace staff, I think. He didn't stop. He reached the girl just as she tipped, and he caught her, one gloved hand at her shoulder, one at her back, steadying her before she hit the stone. He went down on one knee to do it. Right there, in full uniform, in front of 40 strangers and 2 furious handlers. He didn't grab her like property. That's what got me. He caught her the way you catch someone who's frightened. For a second nobody breathed. Corporal Holloway stayed on that knee, one hand steadying the little girl, and he said something to her. I couldn't hear it, but I watched her face and I watched it change, that terrible tightness in her shoulders just loosen. A little. Enough. The older woman recovered first. She stepped in, voice low and clipped, and I caught the shape of it. You've broken your post. This isn't your place. All the correct official things. Holloway stood up, slow, deliberate. He put himself not aggressively, just bodily, a half step between the child and the 2 women, and he said, loud enough that a few of us heard it clean. She's frightened. She can wait out here until she's ready. I'll answer for it. I'll answer for it. 4 words, but you understood everything in them. He knew what breaking his post would cost him. He knew there'd be a report, a reprimand, maybe worse, and he decided a scared kid mattered more than his record. The staff woman, the younger, kinder one, she looked at the older woman, and something passed between them. The older one's jaw worked. Then she gave a short nod and stepped back, and just like that the pressure in the courtyard eased. They let the girl stand there, in the cold, with the guard beside her. She didn't go back through that door until she was ready. It took a while. A footman came out with a coat and put it round her shoulders. At some point she stopped crying. At one point, and I might be making this up, memory does that, I think she almost smiled at something Holloway said, staring straight ahead the way he did, like they were sharing a joke that only still people are allowed to tell. Eventually a woman I hadn't seen before came out. Gentle face, held her arms open, and the little princess walked to her, calm now, and let herself be led back inside. The crowd started drifting off. The show was over. Most of them, I think, only saw a guard catch a stumbling kid. A nice moment, nothing more. But I keep thinking about that sentence. I won't tell anyone what I saw. I never learned what she meant. I probably never will. It's not my story to solve. Here's what I do know. That morning, a man whose entire training told him to stay perfectly still looked at a frightened child and decided, in 1 second, that some rules are smaller than a kid who needs catching. He broke his post. He took the blame. He never told us his reasons. And I've thought about it 100 times since, how the bravest thing I saw that day wasn't a soldier standing guard. It was a soldier deciding, just once, to move.